Hi everyone, it's Isaac here back with another video. Today's video I'll be talking about a few typing mistakes that a lot of people make and don't realize and that they need to avoid. Some of these you'll definitely have heard of before, but it doesn't hurt to cover all your bases. So let's get started. First things first, accuracy. This is one probably everyone's heard, but accuracy is really important for typing when you first learn how to type. You should prioritize accuracy above everything. You shouldn't try to type faster until you can type more accurately. I'd say around 97 to 98% accuracy is probably what you want to be aiming for before you start typing faster. Now, I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite here because I don't really follow this at all. I typically, I don't know, my accuracy is maybe around like 93, 94, sometimes 95 and 96. But yeah, it's not crazy accurate. It's better than it used to be, but yeah, accuracy is really important. The other thing is that don't look at the keyboard when you type. That's something that's pretty important. I know a lot of people do, and it's kind of hard to get off that, but you do eventually want to do that because otherwise you will be stuck. You will eventually get to the point where either you're typing with perfect accuracy and you know exactly what you need to be typing, but it will slow you down because you're looking at the screen and then your keyboard and then the screen and then your keyboard, and it's really hard to do both unless you're using a screen like a mobile monitor or something you can like prop up right next to your keyboard, or maybe like a tablet or phone. But yeah, overall, I recommend learning how to type without looking at the keyboard. I have done it. I noticed a huge improvement once I was able to do that because then I could focus on the screen without having to look at the keyboard. And now, if I even think about what I'm doing when I'm typing, it kind of messes me up a little bit. It's gotten to the point where I really don't need to look at the keyboard, and I shouldn't. The only time I really look at the keyboard is if I need to type in like a long number, like a year or something, and then I try to type text. And then I'll look at the top row because I don't quite have those all memorized yet, nor will I probably for a while. But yeah, that's another big one. Third thing is your wrist position. Not everybody thinks about this, and it's really important. You want to ideally elevate your wrists above your keyboard a little bit. I'd say not like super high because that's going to be weird, but just have your whole arm kind of like elevated above the desk, and then in between races make sure to like rest your hands and stuff, otherwise they're going to get pretty tired. Depending on how many races you do, of course. If you only do like 10 races a day, that won't be hard, but if you keep your wrists elevated for like 100 races, it's going to get tiring pretty quickly. Keyboard position. If you're having issues with typing different rows or getting like your fingers on the different rows of keys, try scooting it forward, back, side, side, whatever. Just try different things to help. I typically have to reposition my keyboard every once in a while. I have it in a pretty good position. I've kind of figured out where I need to have it at. But I do still rearrange it every once in a while. I still move it around a little bit because I don't have my chair at the same distance from the keyboard every day. It changes a little bit, and therefore my keyboard position has to change just a little bit. It's a little hard to figure out where you need to put your keyboard at first, but over time you will kind of develop a sense for, oh, I should probably scoot my keyboard this way a little bit or that way a little bit. It'll come to you with time, and it's super helpful. Another thing is the amount of fingers you're using to type. Please, if you are learning how to type, and I'm not trying to offend anybody who uses this method, but I recommend that you type with home row and not with two fingers. I know it's tempting, I know a lot of people do it. There are some pretty fast two-finger typists, however, there are some disadvantages. It's way less efficient because instead of using ideally 8 to 10 fingers, you're using 2. So you're probably going to get tired pretty quickly, or maybe not pretty quickly, but you're going to get tired eventually. It's just more inefficient. It also is harder to improve your words per minute. Now, there are some two-finger typists, like Penguin Typer, for instance. He improved pretty rapidly for a two-finger typist. However, I've definitely talked with Ace Typer before, not personally, but on Discord servers, and it was a pretty normal thing that one day. I remember he was complaining just about how hard it was for him to improve his words per minute. It was I believe he was averaging 10 words per minute away from his high, and he still couldn't get a new high. And that's just the frustrating thing about two fingers, is that your high words per minute is going to be close to your average, not in exactly a good way. There are a few two-finger typists where this is kind of an outlier, but most of the time, if you take two typists that each average the same words per minute, the one that types more fingers more than likely will have a higher words per minute high speed. But yeah, again, this is not to offend anybody who types with two fingers. I know it's common. Some people are really good at it, and I kind of admire those people because that is hard to do. It's hard to get really, really good at two-finger typing. But again, I recommend typing with 8 to 10 fingers. It is just scientifically been proven to be a superior method of typing. Another one, keyboard layouts, I guess you could call them. there are different keyboard layouts. There's QWERTY, which is what most people probably use, and there's Dvorak, and there's Colemak, and there's Workman, and there's all sorts of other ones. Unless you specifically want to learn an alternative layout, which may not be a bad idea. Some of them are a lot more efficient. If you want to go look up, no, this is John. He's a NitroType. He's more just a typing YouTuber in general, and he uses keyboard layout Dvorak, which is a little different. It's way more efficient, apparently, and he really likes it. He can actually type pretty well with both QWERTY and Dvorak. But yeah, I'd recommend just sticking with QWERTY if that's what you're used to. So I guess my general piece of advice here, don't switch your keyboard layout unless you're specifically having problems with it. Let's see, what else do I have written down here? Zoom level. That's not something people think about often enough. Do not zoom in too far or too far out. Really, it's kind of hard to zoom in too far. Like, the bigger the text, generally the better. As you can see from my videos, I'm zoomed in pretty far. A lot of people will be zoomed in about here or about here. But I like being zoomed in about there. And obviously, if you have a larger monitor, that will help too, because you can have the same zoom level as somebody else, but it'll be a lot larger for you. And that's just generally important, so you can read the text. Also, I recommend for faster typists using what's it called? The multi-line text. Use that instead, because although you will be able to keep up with it in single line, it is a little harder to keep up with it in single line. You know, you're seeing a lot larger text, and maybe that's useful if you have eye problems or something. Like, I have eye problems, and sometimes it is hard to read small print. I do have glasses that are pretty effective though. But yeah, I recommend using multi-line. It's just, you'll be able to map out, which words you're going to use a nitro on, or I guess which word, because they only let you use one now. But stuff like that. So that's important. Another thing is your monitor position. Ideally, you want your monitor to be about level with your eyes, and not like the top or the bottom of the monitor. You ideally want like where you're looking at the screen. So for NitroType, that would be about here, which would be like not the middle, unless you're using like a stylus theme, which there are some that move it up to the middle, so you can't actually see the race, you can just see the text, which actually looks pretty cool. I might try that. But yeah, it's like kind of generally, how would I describe this? Like, not middle, it's a little below middle. It's just kind of like the lower center. So you want to have that about aligned with your eyes. Like, for instance, I have a gaming laptop. It's like a 15.6 inch screen, so it's pretty decently good sized. It's not 17 inches, I want it to be mobile. But yeah, I have it on a laptop cooling stand, which I typically actually keep the cooling part of it off. I just use the laptop's cooling system because that works fine. But I use it to elevate my laptop. And my where I'm looking on the screen for NitroType, where the text is pretty much exactly level with my eyes, maybe slightly down, but that's alright. But yeah, that's definitely really important, because if you're constantly straining your neck when you're typing, that may not really affect your typing speed, but it'll just make things more comfortable if you have a more comfortable monitor position. And last thing is focus. So many people get this wrong. A lot of people just completely ignore the fact that they need to try to get into a rhythm. Like, I guess you could make an analogy to track. I'm in track, and whenever I'm doing any sort of warm-up, which is typically just one lap, because I'm a sprinter, I'm not long distance, and I don't need to be concerned with running miles. I typically, when I'm running my lap, which for me I consider a decently long distance because that's about the longest I'll ever run, I try to find a rhythm. I try to get focused, and that actually helps. And it's the same thing with typing. You want to be listening to music or whatever you listen to when you type. I listen to YouTube videos because I find with music that can get a little bit boring. But yeah, with music or whatever you listen to, try to make it something that won't distract you. I try to make it, something that's pretty calm. If it has background music, it needs to be calm. I try not to watch any videos that I'll have to look at to enjoy, so I more look for videos that I can just listen to enjoy, and that's pretty important. And then also making sure you're in an environment where you can focus. Obviously, if not everyone has this a choice. I have a room that I share with my brother, and I'm able to focus pretty well there because there's really nothing noisy that goes on. It's kind of away from most of the rest of the house. There's just a few rooms and a hallway and a bathroom. But yeah, overall I'm able to focus pretty well. And that's just really important for me. If I get out of focus, which I've done before on a really good typing day, I'll go from doing really well to really bad. So I think that's pretty much everything I have written down. And I can't really think of anything else, which is surprising considering most videos I come up with more things in the middle that I remember that I didn't add to the script. But yeah, that's it for today's video. There is a NitroType cash giveaway going on. That video will be linked in the description. Make sure to enter correctly if you want to enter, because I will not be accepting incorrect entries. You may get pulled for the random number generator, but I will not award you the cash. Also, be looking for an important video coming out. I know I've been talking about it for like a month now, maybe, but it is important. I'm working on it. It will have some changes to this channel. They're all good changes. Like, I'm not quitting. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just changing some stuff around. It will still be about NitroType, of course, but hopefully this should improve the overall quality of the channel. And I think that's pretty much it. Next week, I'm no longer on spring break, so I will not be uploading every day. Once we hit next week, I think there was like a day or two I missed uploading this week, which I'm sorry about that, but I had stuff going on with Easter and track meets and stuff like that. That's fun. But yeah, that's truly it for today's video. Hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you all in the next one.